Andy, why did you write the book, Stock Market Cash Flow and 401 Chaos? I mean, what was your motivation for doing it? Because it's a lot of work to write a book.
Well, starting with 401 Chaos, I just feel that, to be blunt, people with 401ks are going to get screwed. There are three sides to every coin. There's heads, there's tails, and intelligence is found when you can come to the edge, because that's where I can see both sides. And all 401 Chaos is the other side. You have Wall Street. What do they get out of it? What is their vision of 401k? How do they see it? You have the tax ramifications, and you have the employer who gets a great break when he can just cut you off and say goodbye. Look, when I went to school, I got about half the answers right, and I got an F anyway. If you only do half as well, you get an F in school. If half the people have 70 grand, that's a failed program. Now, if you're an executive that makes $1 million a year, you pack it away in your 401k, you might have something. But for the average guy that's probably listening to this that wants to do better, you name one person in this world that said, I was poor and broke, I put my money in a 401k and now I'm rich. I just don't think that happens.
There's two kinds of pensions throughout the world, only two. One is like a 401k, defined contribution, which Andy is an expert at. And the second is called defined benefit, which is industrial age pension plans. And my co-author is Edward Siddell. He's a former SEC attorney, and he got so sick and tired of watching the teachers, firefighters, and police officers and labor union guys ripping off the pensions. And the average guy doesn't know that. So they think, so the old guys who have a defined benefit, like the firefighters and teachers, I have a defined benefit pension plan. It's a guarantee I'm going to get a pension. But they're being robbed blind. And your generation is being robbed blind in a 401k. So we're not saying don't get a 401k. We don't give it financial advice. But you just have to know how stupid you are to think of that way.
If you're an idiot, yeah, you can put your money in, I don't care what asset class you're in.
Warren Buffett owned Delta Airlines and he owned Fruit of the Loom underwear. One is traded, one is not. He woke up one day after COVID, said, I'm done, and sold all his airlines in one day. Gone, liquid, out. If you wanted to sell Fruit of the Loom, you wouldn't be able to do that because it's not a traded business. Paper is the most widely held asset class by the average person because of 401ks and IRAs and stuff like that. I would say, and I don't have data to back it up, but it'd be my opinion that there is no asset class that people are more involved in with less education than paper assets. If I find a real estate guy, if he's been around a few years, he probably has to know somebody who's been wiped out long ago. So the reason this program's important is, does it make sense to you and to your spirit to say, should I invest my money in something I don't understand? If the answer to that is no, well then start to understand or get out and invest in something else. Well, if you look at a financial statement, a pension is a function of the income statement. A 401k is a function of the balance sheet. So pension is about income from a company that lasts you for the rest of your life if it's solvent. A 401k is a function of net worth, where you're building something in your asset column supposedly, but it's really in Wall Street's asset column, assets under management. So even that shift from pensions to 401ks, think about that. You took a fundamental shift from a function of cash flow to a function of net worth, and no one even freaking knew the difference. So if you're going to be in a 401k, John says the average balance is 100,000. but the median is 70. Robert, that means half the people in those things, the bottom half, that's a year's worth of money. So you're gonna go from 65 to 90 with 70 grand. And if the market crashes and cuts in half, now you got $35,000. So the issue I have with a 401k is, if you're expecting to retire with dignity in a 401k,
the reason I talk about paper assets as a category is because paper assets are liquid and real estate is not. Gold, silver, Bitcoin are liquid. Real estate is not. Businesses are not liquid. And so when somebody says, well, should I jump into real estate? I go, you gotta be an idiot. Stay with your 401k. So I'm not against the 401k. I'm not against stocks, bonds, mutual funds.
One of the books that I love as much as Rich Dad Poor Dad is the Cashflow Quadrant. So if a person understands that, that will help them with their decision, right? I mean, if I am an employee, they're going to present me with a 401k plan. If I'm an investor, that's not going to be
I quadrant, right?
Yeah, I quadrant. And so
And most people in the S have
An
IRAs.
IRAs,
Yeah,
which
you
is
know,
kind
SERTs.
of it's a different 401k, but it's for self-employed
Yeah.
people. So E's and S's have 401ks and IRAs and SEPs. I wouldn't touch them either. So go ahead.
You know, people, here's what's interesting. There's a lot of greed in the world, a lot of it. And if I was in my 20s, right, and up and coming and get into life, or if my son, when he gets that age, I'm going to say, son, people want your money. They're going to want it. Your employer wants to give you less of it. That's why they do a 401k instead of a pension. They want to give you less money. They want to keep most of it. The government wants your money through taxes, right? And the guys who want your money more than anyone else is Wall Street. So what I would say is just look at both sides. You know, if Robert and I were going to do a business deal together, we'd say, okay, this is what we're going to put in and this is what we hope to get out. And this is how it's, you know, it may or may not work like that, but you need to know what Wall Street is going to do with that money and how much Wall Street's going to make. When you look at an average person, they're people,
average.
They'll say, where's their money at? It's in their house, and people think their house is an asset, and it's in their
After 2008, there was a sub-asset and a subprime.
and then you have your retirement. So Wall Street looks at this, and the bankers look at this. The bankers want your mortgage because they're going to charge you interest there, but Wall Street wants your 401k because they're going to take your fees. You know, you'll find that your mortgage is your liability, but it's the bank's asset. Your house payment is your expense, but it's the bank's income. Well, your 401k is Wall Street's asset because the fees you pay is their income.
When I got out of the Marine Corps, my classmates went to fly for a little company called United Airlines. And in 2005, Wall Street ripped off their pension. So that's why I wrote this book here, Stole My Pension. Being a hardcore perma-bear pessimist on the stock, because I'm not in it, is my guys who are, they're saying the biggest crash is still coming in the stock. So if you're sitting there with a pension and you're sitting with a 401k, and I think it's Schiff and the other guy, they're saying by April there's going to be this crash because you can't keep pumping fake money. Where the Fed takes money from the poor and gives it to the rich. And so the rich is the stock market. So everybody's floating around happy as Larry, you know, the stock market going higher than higher. But the pessimists like me are saying it can't last forever. As a person who invests in real estate and in businesses and gold, silver, Bitcoin, I control my returns. The reason I'm not in the stock market is I don't have much control. The advantage of stocks, paper assets, is they're liquid. It's also the disadvantage. And so if you know the disadvantage, then there's things you can do, which is what Andy teaches, which is options, which is what John does, which is options. It's called insurance. And if you understand that, you might have a prayer. You might actually make more money off of options than you do from the stock if you know what you're doing. I took options trading for 3 years, and my brain, I'm a real estate guy, I'm very slow.
If you own paper assets, you can look at it two ways. You can say, I'm either owning a business or I'm trading a stock. If you want to do it like Buffett does, own the business, understand its financials, understand the balance sheet, understand the income statement, understand the debt, understand the assets and liabilities. Then you're a true business owner with the advantage of if you don't like what you see anymore, you can leave with liquidity. But if you're just trading a stock, look, Warren Buffett wants people to buy cans of Coca-Cola so he can get a dividend. In the same way Robert would invest in Kenny to share in the rents, Buffett buys Coca-Cola to share in the profits from cola drinks. He has no interest in the price of Coca-Cola stock going up and down. He owns a business, not a stock. If you're in paper assets, treat it like owning a business, not a stock.